Yo, 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 what's good, beautiful people? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome to In God We Trust Academy podcast. Always a beautiful thing to be able to do this with you guys. As always, appreciate you for tuning in, rocking with me. Hope y'all having a great day. Safe on you're traveling on the road. If you're at your job right now, tuning in, appreciate it. Don't get in trouble. Yeah. Where y'all tuning in from, though? Let me know. Patrick Williams, what's up? So today we're going to be talking about status correction process. We're going to correct y'all status today, like right now. Yeah, we're going to do it right now. How everybody doing, man? Y'all doing great out there? Massachusetts in the house. What's up? Got Chicago in the house. Chicago, what's good? What's good with y'all, man? Y'all ready to talk about status correction process? You know what I mean? Appreciate the heart. Thank you. Are y'all ready to talk about status correction process today? St. Louis, MO in the house. What's up? Dominic. I said your name right. Terry Rocket, what's good? What's good? Glad you're doing great. Glad you're doing great, man. Y'all like, share, and subscribe with us. Your first time tuning in with us. You want to know about the status correction process? We're going to, literally, I'm going to tell you today how to correct your status right now. No gatekeeping here, guys. Just, I'm going to tell you. What you do with it is it's totally up to you. Now, status correction and capitalization is two different things. So I'm going to tell you about status correction first. And then we'll talk about capitalizing on yourself. Because you're letting everyone else capitalize on you. You should learn how to fully capitalize upon yourself. So everything that you guys hear from this point forward is for educational and religious purposes only. Anybody seeking any form of legal advice, please do seek a legal advisor, because this is my religious truth and experiences here today that you guys will hear. All right. But other than that, though, let's talk about it, man. This status correction process has been running around for a minute. And, man, I've done everything under the sun, just like you guys have, right? Yeah, like, oh, man, we didn't get any success from a lot of this stuff, right? But did you? Depends on who you are, because the whole status correction process is this. Is once you start reading for yourself, and I mean reading the law for yourself. I'm not talking about a bunch of books and stuff like that. I mean literally referencing and reading and studying law and words and how words are used in law. When you start seeing this, and you start reading from yourself through this whole entire process out of everything else that you've tried, what you come into the fruition of is understanding is that, number one, I am the law in motion. Okay, I'm going to say it again. I am the law in motion. Let me see y'all drop that in the chat. I am the law in motion. All right, before we continue, I want to see your participation. Are you the law in motion? I am the law in motion. Okay? You have to truly understand that and see that within yourself in every aspect. Because you are consciousness. And as consciousness, you are also law. You are also justice. You are also order. You are also understanding. Okay? because it is you who understands. It is you who grasp knowledge. It is you who use wisdom. Do everybody follow? If so, drop some ones. Let me know you with me. Drop some ones. Gotta make sure you're with me because it's you. Okay? So once you start truly understanding with yourself that it's you, okay, that is taking in and becoming knowledge, because in order for knowledge to be considered knowledge, it takes you, the man, to operate on knowledge. Okay? And then you have to use it according to the wisdom. And sometimes wisdom just has to come through the moment and the experience of what you are in and being wise enough to make a decision. So, as being the law in motion, guys, we have to truly understand this as the sovereign people, as you say, because only people can be sovereign, and people are the ones who establish what you call a social compact. And this social compact, it can be by blood, it can be by certain things for common defense or anything of that nature, to where you establish yourself as a free and independent state. Okay? So that is sovereign because the people now create a law called the Constitution, which they are truly willing to be governed under, and only the Constitution, right? So they say, and when they do this, they establish what you call a public authority. And now this public authority is the law. It is the sovereign. So now law is sovereign over the people who have consented themselves, right? So now here's the situation. Those people who sit as public servants are those who are considered a sovereign authority because they hold a official capacity operating in the capacity and boundaries of law. Okay? So, if you can see it from that perspective, then you have to understand one thing, that everything fully operates in the trust because the people are the one who have the rights. The people granted certain rights to the government according to the Constitution. So now, since we granted those rights to the government, and the government has to operate and fully protect the rights and inalienable rights of the beneficiaries, which are the posterity, which is people, right? So that means now, in order for the people to retain all rights, that, like it said in the Ninth Amendment, you have to fully assert all rights properly. So that means that, number one, people should understand constitutions. You should understand all different levels of these different courts, whether you want to call them inferior, kangaroo courts, whatever the case may be. But here's the thing, there is a procedure for everything as you continue to study law, because you should understand and understand, or understand, whichever is best for you, to know that the Constitution itself is a contract. It's a trust indenture. They're obligated to fulfill whoever may sit in it, but only if it's asserted by the people. So they're going to only recognize you according to the fruits that you bear, meaning who and what you are and how you apply yourself. Because when it comes to law, we can only see those who abide according to law and due process of law, meaning the letter of law, how it is written. Then we know you are the people. So when I say law, I mean the actual Constitution. I didn't say legal statutory. Statutory is what the states do. So you have statutory law. But statutory law can never come in conflict of interest of the actual Constitution for the people. And remember, people are only those who retain their rights. So if you don't know your rights and you don't retain your rights, then we can presume you as a federal citizen of the United States. And now you are subject to statutory law because you have no idea what to do when you come in a courtroom in the first place. So you're going to grab what you call a public defender. And when they get a public defender, what the public defender does is defend the public. What is the public issue here? The public has a charge against you. So that's the reason why there are always, no matter what, they're always going to do a what? A plea bargain with the prosecutor. Every single time, they're only going to offer you what the public has to offer you. Okay? Their job is not to defend you as the private person who is wanting their rights defended. It doesn't work that way because it's your job to assert the right, and you can't assert a right with a public defender who defends the public, the statutory laws, etc. So they're only going to offer you, please, drop some ones if you're with me. I'm trying to help you see the limelight right now. But see, if you don't know this, we can't consider you one of the people because you don't even understand the structure of your own government here. Yeah. If you were born on the soil, you are considered a state national and you have a permanent allegiance always because you have the right to return back to where you have rooted. So they look at it like in the form of agriculture. Wherever you were literally considered to be born at the time, you have rooted yourself there. Okay? And you have the right to return to their country. It depends on how they accept citizenship. But here in America, that's just what it is. All right. Now you also have, which that's just solely, but you also have by blood, which by blood means you have the right to claim certain inheritances according to your nationality by blood. So you could be descendants of Al and the Wire, descendants of the Creek, descendants of Choctaw. You could be Moroccan descendants. You could be whatever descendants it is that you want to claim. But it's your duty to understand the treaties, etc., that apply to you. But it still takes you to retain those rights. So you the one that has to operate those. Nobody else can do it for you guys. Okay? See, this is the whole thing. It's like you guys are afraid and running from the law, but it's no running. You guys are afraid but running from the court. It's like, why are you running from the court when the court is what you created? You just got to understand the nature of the court and what you're in and what you're doing. Right? So, city courts really have no right of having a hearing to anything other than businesses within the city that is making money and they're being, under to have some form of license to do business within the city, etc. Those are the only ones that has to surely deal with the city. The people should never have to. You know why? Because you have the right to due process of law, which says that what? Right to due process of law. So we're going to use the 14th Amendment. You like the 14th? Why are we going to use the 14th? Because the 14th Amendment binds the states. What? Have you read the Constitution? Yeah, the 14th Amendment binds the states. See, you got to understand the U.S. Constitution only was bound to the federal jurisdiction because its limited jurisdiction is over the states, meaning that if there's a diversity citizenship, meaning one citizen from another state to another citizen in another state, if they got some type of dispute, then it has to go to the federal jurisdiction. Also, any form of federal question, that means any treaty, any federal statutory, and also the actual federal constitution, right? And also, if you are suing the state for breaking the 14th Amendment. So that's why you got 42 U.S.C. 1983, where you got the civil rights or right to a civil actions for anybody that's, basically violating your private rights, right? 18 U.S.C. 242 and 241, because that could be a conspiracy if there's one, two or more that's considered involved. That could be a full conspiracy. So my whole entire point of me saying this is, like, that's the limited jurisdiction. So if you want things to apply to a state, then as much as people try to talk about the 14th Amendment, yes, it created naturalization. And also, but see, they didn't do this in your favor, African-American Negro. They never did this in your favor. That's another thing that we have to realize. That was not in our favor, okay? However, it worked in our favor, but it was never intended to be done in your favor. They try to make it look like the Dred Scott case is what created the 14th Amendment, but it did not. People were coming here on boats, right? And they needed to be classified. They wanted to be classified. In order for them to do this, they wasn't considered a part of the people of the Constitution. So they had to make it to where they could naturalize, and then also their children that were born here could be considered U.S. citizens and citizens of the states they reside in. All of these people are foreigners, literally. Now, all you got to do is ask yourself a question: who the one came here on boats flooding the Americas at the time? then those are the people that I am speaking on. Okay? Just pay attention to history. Just watch what happened. Now, this also worked out in the favor of the Negro because now the Negro was able to consider himself one of the people of the states, and there was nothing they could do about it because it says any and all persons, also within the states and territory of the United States as well. Like that also had to do with Puerto Rico, Guam, etc. So now they're bound to it to never ever violate due process of law. So if you know what due process of law is, now we can control the states completely by the U.S. Constitution, the state constitution, and we literally just have to operate the law. That's status correction. It's you to know who you are, the position of where you at, what has happened over time, right? Now, I could get into other people's by blood, treaty rights, etc., but everybody ain't the same. So I'm not going to get into that. But to the base fact of you being born here on the land of America right now, you are a state national to whatever state that you were born in first. That's where your allegiance is first. Because you got to understand what happens if the union breaks. It's a possibility. Y'all think shit is supposed to be all good all the time, man. It ain't nothing for a civil war to break out here. And if it was to happen, well, you have an allegiance first to your national state. Why? Because that's what most probably all your people at. Your stuff gonna be at, all of that, right? Let's just say that's so, because most people back then weren't moving around as much as we do now, right? People were more settled in one spot. So that means now these people are here. You gonna always return back to the roots. Your roots was where your family was at, right? So they expect you to create a home here and also continue to have children and so on, right? Well, that's where you have your permanent allegiance to. If you understand what I'm saying. If you don't, then this is the problem, right? You don't know who you are, and you sit up here in a country and don't know nothing about your government and the government that you're dealing with. You have no idea about it. So you fight an uphill battle and a whole lot of stuff because you haven't taken heed to be aware of the things that you are involved in regardless. But you need to know your standpoint that you're going to have with it. That's what everybody need to understand. So my point is this. What does that look like, right? So you guys think like, okay, if I file a declaration, and I'm telling you stuff just I done done what y'all done. I do got a trust. I do got a UCC. I do claim my Morris descent heritage, etc. Like, but I also know how to operate with it, all of that. But the thing is, you can have all the paperwork in the world, and if your actions do not match with what you say, then you're going to fail due process. It's just that simple. And then here's the thing. The law does not need to be interpreted by anybody. There's not a judge that can interpret the law. Did y'all know that? That's why they say you can write for an opinion, because their opinion is exactly what it is. They only have an opinion. There's no interpretation of what the law say. It says what it says. It means what it says. When I say the law, I'm talking about the law of the land, which starts with the constitutions. Those are the laws of the land. And any treaty that anybody might be involved in, because everybody's different. Everybody comes from a different descent, different rights and interests to certain things. So you just need to learn how to operate those your entire self. So what I mean by like, what does that look like? What does that look like? So if you were particularly in a court, the only thing that matters is one thing and one thing only. It's due process. Okay? All you have to do is preserve the record. There is literally nothing else you truly have to do. Now, having a trust, are there advantages to this and that? Yes, it absolutely is. But for the basic part of what you need to know is one, you're already free. There's no captivity over you. Everything is a mindset and a thought to you. So based upon who and what you think you are, according to the way you think, is how you're going to operate within the United States. That's a fact. If you say you're a taxpaying citizen, well, damn it, you're going to be a taxpaying citizen. If you know you're a national and there is no taxable events going on with you, then they can't tax you. But you got to know who you are and where you stand. And it's just really that simple. Use the law. So when it comes to, let's say you received a traffic ticket, you got to know that the courtroom procedures, the rules and procedures of the court, the reason why y'all go to jail is because y'all end up in contempt. Because all they got to do is you go in there talking about who you are, I'm the agent to the principal, or I'm the beneficiary, or I'm the executor, or all of that stuff, bro. I've been there. Trust me. You don't got to say any of that. You come to an arraignment. What is an arraignment for? The arraignment here is preliminary hearing or whatever. It's just to know whether you plead guilty or not guilty. Or you can have no contest. In certain states, you can have what they call a plea of demurrer, which literally means that you're not arguing about any of the facts. You're just talking about the lawful procedures, which is basically due process of law, right? Which literally removes the case. So what you got to realize, or people will say that, okay, so if you do say you're not guilty, it submits you to the jurisdiction. It's not true. Okay? What does not guilty mean? Right? And I'm just testing some people's knowledge of court. What does not guilty mean? Drop it in the chat. Let me see what y'all got. Let me make sure y'all here. What does not guilty mean? What does it mean? Not guilty. Anybody? What does it mean, family? I don't agree. Okay. What does it mean? You don't submit to the charges? Okay. There you go. That's pretty good. What else y'all got for me? TikTok, y'all ain't got nothing? Innocent? Okay. Innocent. What else y'all got? Power of attorney controls it all, I guess. Means you're contesting the claim instead of accepting? Okay. Not liable? Okay, that's good. I like that. Okay. Y'all ready for what it means? No jurisdiction established? All right, now we getting there. Now we getting there. If I'm saying that I'm not guilty, I'm saying that there is no subject matter here. Okay? What does no subject matter mean? What does no subject matter? What does it mean? Let's see where y'all at. Y'all walk into these courtrooms saying any and everything. So what does it mean? Putting a burden of proof on the accusing party? No case? Exactly. Subject matter. If there's no subject matter jurisdiction, then that means the case has to be dismissed because there's no cause of action to grant relief. There's no crime committed. So by saying no guilty, you're saying that there's no jurisdiction. You're actually challenging jurisdiction, to be honest with you. You're really doing that. So there's just certain things that you have to do. So we know affidavit is considered facts. So after we say, hey, no guilty, we're going to enter in the facts. Okay? Or we can enter it in before we get there to say, or before the arraignment, no guilty, whatever. We can do it then. It's cool. Let's just jump it off. Right? And we do an affidavit. Affidavit of political status and factual declarations and other things that you want to write in based upon what happened. But here's the thing. We're just going to give our fact. And facts is considered evidence. Okay? It's also considered what we can call our affirmative defense. Either way it go, this is our evidence. And because we can consider this evidence is because we have first-hand knowledge of the situation. Okay? Because you was there. So with that being said, let's roll. So now we have to, number one, establish that you are a natural living man born on the soil known as the Republic of Alabama within the landmass of North America. I am not a corporate entity, artificial person, or subject of any incorporated municipal entity known as the state of Alabama. And the reason why we're saying this is because this is our truth. If you rebut anything, you must prove, right? But just watch. I am not a 14th Amendment citizen of the United States. I have not willingly, voluntarily, or intentionally waived my natural political status. My political allegiance and birthright standing are the Organic Republic of Alabama, one of the several states united by a compact. And I'm just doing this based on a foundation easy for everybody to understand. Yes, I could get a whole lot more technical with other things, but we're going to keep it basic. No contract or agreement has been knowingly entered into that would convert my standing to that of a federal subject or regulated participant. Okay, so think about that. Regulated participant in commerce, none. So now they would have to prove that, but let's go a little deeper. I was issued a citation for alleged speeding by an officer acting under the color of municipal code or traffic regulation. I was summoned to appear before the municipal court of whatever city, which does not provide jury trials, but only bench trials. So that alone says that this is a violation of Sixth Amendment and also whatever in the Constitution of the state, because they're going to literally say that all criminal prosecutions, every last criminal prosecution, okay, has a right to a speedy and public trial and an impartial jury. There's no waiving rights of that. So all one has to do is demand a jury trial. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. They can't provide it because they only have limited jurisdiction of a bench trial. So I have not been presented with or served a verified complaint signed by a human party alleging injury, loss, or harm. I have not received any verified affidavit of jurisdiction showing the source of lawful authority over my person or property. The right to travel upon the land. Why do I say land? Because the Ninth Amendment says that the enumerated rights of the Constitution, right? Those that are basically not mentioned in the Constitution, does not mean that just because they're not mentioned, that we still don't have the right to assert those rights. So, man has always had the right of local motion, okay, upon the land to freely travel within his own form of private conveyance. Listen at the words that I'm choosing to say. Okay? The words matter. Listen at the words. When we say words matter, think about actual matter. Because we are here by word, by matter. Right? Think about that. We are here by word and matter. So if that's the case, what that mean for us? What that mean for us? We got to be careful what we say now, right? We got to make sure our words matter. What we speak comes into life. All right? What we speak comes into life. I don't know why I paused on y'all. Maybe it'll pick back up. I don't know. Yeah, it did. There we go. Y'all good again. But okay. So now we're on the land. Land. I did not create God did not create the highway. God created the land. Government established the terminology highway. So let them have it. Simple. But we talking about the law of the land. And the law of the land was established before the law of the highway. Okay? Pay attention. That is an enumerated right that we always have and we always get to exercise, no matter what. Okay? So the land is the lawful and constitutional jurisdiction of the people. Roads and highways are built up on the land, and that which is built upon the land remains under the jurisdiction of the land unless lawfully ceded. We've never ceded that right, ever. So I am the lawful user and possessor of my private conveyance. I did not say automobile. I did not say vehicle. It's just my private conveyance, right? Which is not used for commercial gain or regulated public activity. My travel on the land was not in commerce, and no contract was presented or signed waiving my private right in exchange for regulated privilege. Right? And even then, they still have to prove that, one, I was in the act of commerce to make money. Okay, but we'll get to that. So we're going to make sure we reserve our rights. We reserve our rights, including but not limited to the right to challenge jurisdiction in a proper motion, the right to appeal any improper action, right to not be compelled to act as surety for any artificial entity. I make no general appearance and do not submit to any presumption of jurisdiction not supported by evidence. We go into penalty of perjury, do a certificate of service. Now, that's just the affidavit. That's the truth. Okay? And our word is also considered to be the proof because we also use law. Okay? We use law. All right? So in the midst of using law, we said exactly who we are. And we're challenging the tribunal's subject matter jurisdiction. Okay? That's what we're doing. Now, we want the court to do this. Now we're going to do a motion of production. Well, now we'll do a motion to dismiss. Because based upon the affidavit, we said that they don't have the power to give an actual jury trial. So that takes away jurisdiction as well. And also, they can't really prove that that you cause any form of harm or injury, etc. And all we got to do, too, is ask for the books. If we cause any injury to the state, let them show the books. Let the books come up. Go tell the Treasury to come up and tell them to prove what the city took a loss because you didn't wear a seatbelt. Y'all think I'm playing. We got the right to subpoena that. You said there was an injury and harm. The city got hurt. Okay, show me where the city took a loss. Let me see the books. I didn't have a seatbelt on that day. They took a loss that day because I didn't wear a seatbelt, bro. Where it said on the books? Let me see. Let me see the injury. Let me see the harm caused. Because that's the only way a municipal can be caused unless it was some type of financial damage that has taken place. Let me see it. That's just on one account. But anyway, now we're going to do a motion to dismiss for lack of subject matter jurisdiction and due process violation. Because if they continue with the procedures, and this is what I mean by understanding the procedures of the court. So knowing how to move the court. If you want the court to do anything, an affidavit alone is not enough. You have to move the court based upon the evidence that you have provided, which is your affidavit. That is considered facts. It's considered evidence. And now you're able to move on. Okay? Yes, you can send both at the same time. Absolutely. All right. So now, what we're going to do is this. If you're in Alabama, this is for you for sure because I got the codes and everything for you. So just listen carefully and you will know how to do this with these particular codes. You have to find these within your own state to understand. But listen carefully to what I'm saying because it's definitely in every state. So we're going to motion to dismiss for lack of subject matter jurisdiction and due process violations. Now, let me say this. The state of Alabama has where I can do a plea of demurrer, like I said earlier. And that's just literally me saying that I'm not going to argue with the facts. I'm just going to argue with the lawful authority. And we're not even arguing. We're just presenting the fact that you guys don't have the power to give a jury trial and you consider this a criminal nature. So if that's the case, then it has to go. Right? Simple. So now what we're going to do is a motion here. Municipal courts in Alabama are creatures of the state created under Alabama Code, subsection 1214(1), and in the sequence of that, and have limited jurisdiction to hear cases arising under municipal ordinance and certain misdemeanors of the state. The charge in this matter is speeding under, we'll say, subsection 325A190, or the municipal code, arises under traffic statutes or ordinance that apply regulated commercial activity, not to private travel on the land. The right to travel in my private capacity is not a privilege granted by a government, but a retained right of the people. Okay? As has been said in what? The Ninth Amendment. Right? As well as in the 10th Amendment. Okay? So, now, that's also has been stated in Thompson and Smith. No valid and lawful subject matter jurisdiction can exist unless the tribunal can prove that the undersigned was engaged in regulated activity at the time of the alleged offense, that there exists a valid statute lawfully applicable to prevent a private man exercising right to travel on the land, and that jurisdiction has been lawfully delegated from the state to this municipal venue over such matters involving private people on the land. Okay? And also, no such showing has been made, nor has any contract been produced binding the undersigned to municipal statutory obligations. So this violates what they call violates due process through the 14th Amendment, because again, the 14th Amendment bounds the state to due process. I'm going to say this to you guys again. The 14th Amendment binds the states to due process of law. The 5th Amendment binds the United States the Federation of to it, okay? The 5th Amendment is for the federal, then you have the states for the 14th. Make sure you understand that, okay? It makes a difference on how you use it in your cases. I just want you guys to know that. Now, if the federal government did something to you, then it's the 5th Amendment. If it's the state, then it's the 14th Amendment, always, because that's what binds the state. Okay, so the 14th Amendment guarantees that no state, listen, shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So that binds the state. Due process includes right to trial by jury in criminal cases, even for misdemeanors as established under Duncan versus Louisiana. A general grant of criminal jurisdiction to a court does not include the power to deny jury trial. So you always have that right. Alabama Constitution, Article 1, 6.1, crime victim rights, also affirms the right to procedure, fairness, and jury trial in criminal prosecutions. So municipal courts in Alabama do not provide jury trials, but instead offer bench trials only, conducted solely by a judge, which is constitutional violation of due process when applied to the living people and the several states. And here's why. The people's power is always to be the jury, because the people are the actual ones. That's where you have the power. You decide who is guilty or not guilty, or the liberties of the people at all times. You get to decide the law. That's the whole point of having jury, right? So a jury must deal and be in every situation that involves your rights. I don't care what liberty it may be, okay? Every liberty, that anything that you can think of that could possibly be taken away with you has to be dealing with a jury trial, because it's your right, right? It's your right in property. It's your right in, even your rights is considered your property. Your religion is considered your property, if you did not know. So you have to truly understand that from that perspective and know that, like, okay, I have to assert my right, and my right is always to have a jury trial. They took an oath to make sure that if you demand a jury trial in any form of criminal prosecution, that you are to receive a jury trial. Well, these city courts, especially in Alabama, don't have the power to do that. They're limited. Okay? So, therefore, they don't got jurisdiction, because their procedure is going to cause you what? It's going to cause you harm. They're going to violate you. Right? They cannot give you full due process of the law. It's already stated that, right? So, with that being said, we letting it be known. They cannot give it, right? It's constitutional. The municipal court, therefore, lacks lawful authority to adjudicate criminal matters without offering constitutionally guaranteed trial by jury, and acting in conflict with both the 14th Amendment and common law protections preserved by the 9th Amendment. So, there you go. We want them to dismiss it. To dismiss this matter with prejudice, right? For want of subject matter jurisdiction and due process compliance. They can never have it. They can never bring it in their court again, ever. Ever. They bring you in their court again for a traffic ticket, lawsuit. Really can already sue them now because they already know that they in violation of your time. Your time is property, right? So if they taking up your time, they can receive an invoice for this. That's just another side of things, but that can definitely happen though. All right. So now after we did that, we did a motion to dismiss. Now let's say that they dismissed the case. Great, cool, we win. Now we can do other things like that. We can do pretty much a form of a claim on them, make a claim on the officer stuff, all of that different type of stuff, right? And we can have that produced for our benefit and evidence, right? But let's say they don't dismiss it. And let's say they want to continue to proceed. Okay, so the first thing you want us to do is, okay, since y'all saying y'all have the power to do what you're doing, we finna make you prove it because that's what discovery is for. You have to see any and all evidence that people have the authority and the right of claim to bring the charge that they're trying to charge, or even if they have the power to actually make the charge. That's where we're at. So let's see if they can do it. Motion for production of evidence. Want you to produce. And disclosure under Rule 16, due process, and the Brady versus Maryland. So the Sixth Amendment guarantees the right to confront witness and review all evidence and prepare an adequate defense. The 14th Amendment guarantees the right to due process of law, which includes timely access to all information and material prosecution intend to use at trial. Brady versus Maryland. The state is obligated to disclose all exculpatory evidence, including any material favorable to the accused. So Rule 16A1 of the Alabama Rules of Criminal Procedure, because they're going to say traffic cases are criminal in nature. Okay, well, let's use this to our advantage. It obligates the prosecution to disclose upon request the following: written or recorded statements. That could be anything that we want. They also have to give documents and tangible evidence, names and addresses of witnesses, scientific tests, reports, or expert findings, right? So now what we want is a verified complaint or affidavit of injury, because we want to know that somebody has to go into penalty and perjury to even claim any form of criminal procedures here. Certified copy of the charging instruments. We want proof of the officer's oath of office and the bond. Okay. Right? That's what we want. All right. I'm telling you exactly what to do. All y'all got to do is listen to me. Clear your mind for a second. Proof of all officers' oath and bond. And we also want proof of the officers of the court. We want their oath and bond because we want to make sure everybody is operating in lawful authority, because I don't know. How can I consider you to be a judge today if I don't have proof that you have the power and right to judge today? Or even the officer. The officer might not even be bonded lawfully when he gave that ticket, man. I don't know. Y'all need to prove everything. That everything was a right before we can even consider you even having a right to consider adjudication, because y'all might not even be operating in the capacity. And since you're not operating according to jury trial and you still trying to go on a bench trial instead of change of venue, yeah, y'all acting real fishy up in here. So let's see it. Now, what I'm doing is preserving the record, because when it comes to an appeal and I make it to that Article 3 court, then what they're going to do is look at law and facts. Law meaning due process of law. The facts mean the facts of the case. And the case is going to be reversed because they knew they never had the jurisdiction from the first place. But listen to what I'm about to say. So we want that from the actual officer and that from all parties and officials of the court. We also want delegation of documents, delegation of authority, documents showing this court has jurisdiction as well. We want traffic enforcement equipment records. We want calibration logs. We want to know if the speed gun. We want to check the serial numbers, magnet records for any radar used on the data of the stop. We want to know, right? All body cam, dash cam, dispatch audio, uh, unedited digital video, audio from all officers involved during the encounter. We want a copy of the state statute or ordinance being applied as well. We want proof of commercial activity. We also want a witness list because we might have a deposition to question these people, right? Any additional exculpatory or impeachment material, including statements of materials in possession of law enforcement that may aid in defense. We want it all. So we're going to reserve our rights. So what that means is now they have to produce this. Everything that we're asking for in our favor of evidence. We want it. Give it to us. Right? So now, let's say that now they don't want to hear nothing you guys got to say. As y'all say, they don't listen. Okay, so cool. You have to understand equity. You got to understand court rules and procedures. So we have the power to do something here. Right? And this is just status correction, guys. We preserved the record. We already stated who we was through an affidavit, right? Political status and all. We stated exactly what happened, the powers that you have and don't have. All of that was an affidavit. That's facts. We did a motion to dismiss, to move the court to dismiss because they didn't have jurisdiction. So after that, now we want, they saying they denied that. So, okay, now prove it. Prove you do with everything that has been stated. On the reason why we said that you should dismiss it, now you have to prove that you have it. Okay? So, with that being said, let's go on to the next thing, right? The next thing to do is understand that if the court is going to cause you harm, you have the power to do what they call an extraordinary writ. How many of you know what an extraordinary writ is? Drop some ones. How many of you know what an extraordinary writ is? Drop some ones. Let me know. Don't you need to remove all nexus with the state and U.S. courts? Nope. See, y'all got to start understanding this. It's nothing that needs to be undone. You ain't got to go undo anything because if it violates a right, it's already void. It's not voidable. Okay? Did y'all hear that? It's already void. It's not voidable where you have to go make sure somebody voids it. It's void right now. So that just literally means I can say your name is Sam and your name is actually Mike. And then once you say who you are, what I said your name was is now void. It's not voidable. It's void immediately because you preserved and corrected the record. That was it. That's all you had to do. It's act and be who you're supposed to do. It's to be or not to be. And remember, you have to be it. It ain't just words. You have to walk in and know how to be it and move the court. Look like the people. Look like the people that know something, to do something. That's all this is. Right? So the next thing we're going to do now is an extraordinary writ. And an extraordinary writ is we're going to go to a higher court and we're going to do a writ of prohibition. Why? Because we want this court to stop before they continue with procedures that's going to cause us irreparable harm. But here's the difference. You can't call yourself a state national if you don't know to do this. Why? Because this is the people's law, the people who wrote the law, who made sure the court rules and procedures, et cetera. All this stuff was established. Are y'all paying attention to what I'm trying to tell you? We don't have to waste our time in these courts if we don't want to. If you want to go through it and waste your time in it, waste your time in it. But the truth is you don't. We immediately go to the higher court. Writ of prohibition. Why am I finna go through a whole court procedure that is literally going to cause me harm? They're literally going to say, I'm this, I'm that, through a whole bench trial. They're taking away a right that I have for every criminal procedure because they're going to say traffic is criminal in nature. Okay, if that's the case, I have a right to a jury trial. Do you have the power to do so? They're going to say, no, we only have bench trials. Okay, well, this case needs to be dismissed. You no longer have jurisdiction here. Any other further procedures just means you're going to be acting outside of your immunities and that you are doing it in malice because you know you don't have the jurisdiction. Either change the freaking venue and put me in a court that gives me a jury trial or dismiss the case. One way or another. If not, then I'm going to a higher court and I'm going to do a prohibition immediately. The law says so. And I don't need anybody to interpret it, right? You feel what I'm saying? I don't need anybody to interpret that. None whatsoever. It's written in the law. All criminal prosecutions has the right to a what? Jury. Speedy and public trial in an impartial jury all day long. It didn't say all. It didn't say some. It said all prosecution. And then in the states, it says any. In the state of Alabama, it say any prosecution. So that means any prosecution. It don't matter. Any criminal prosecution that's going on has that right to demand a jury trial. And these courts can't give it. So you have to know how to operate like the sovereign people that you say you are. Because there's no way that you can literally create law and don't know how to operate the law that you establish. The courtroom is established according to law and equity. That means if the law says, then equity has to be performed based upon what the law says. And if the law cannot give equity at the time or does not have a remedy, then that means you have to find it in equity. That means to do just what is right to do. Even if it's not mentioned in law, the right thing to do is the right thing to do because it's equitable. So if something belongs to somebody, and if it's not in law to do certain things, then I need to make sure that I can make sure that's returned to somebody under a constructive trust type situation, to where they have to do something in equity to perform. Replevin is equity. Injunction is equity. Being able for me to go to a higher court and do a writ of prohibition is equity, because I'm looking for something to be performed that's right in my favor, which is the fact that this court is, what's the point of me going through this court if it's going to violate my rights? I have the right to do this. So I need to be in this venue. It needs to be a change of venue. They lose territorial jurisdiction because they don't have the power to do so. So this is the thing. What you think happened in the city actually happened in the county. So you should never be in a city court. See how that works? The city is in the county, guys, not the county in the city. And the county is within the state, but the county is also written in the Constitution, in the state constitutions. So you got to realize that. That's part of the people. That's the reason why they can give jury trials in counties. They can't in cities. They municipals. Now you can also go into a district court in Alabama, and that district court, literally, it does not have the power. It's a limited jurisdiction. And that district court, if you know, that is the District of Columbia having power there. It's doing business as the United States under State of Alabama, or as State of Alabama Incorporation. See, that's the difference. You got to know that. Now, if you choose to operate and try to play that game with them, then guess what? Yes, it's all about money, for sure. But if you want to be in a court of your peers where you're supposed to be, then in Alabama, you need to know how to reach the circuit court of the county. That's it. That's where your first jury trial going to start at. Then, unless it's something on a capital level type level, then you're going to have to deal with the grand jury, which means that the prosecutor has to bring it before a grand jury in order to even, and that means the people themselves, which is the grand jury, has to say, yes, this person needs to be charged with this. And now the grand jury puts out a warrant. It comes from the people. That's the reason why when you go to court, it's the people, the state, right? The people of the state of such and such versus whoever, because the grand jury is out to you. That's the difference, right? So no, now we in this actual circuit court in Alabama. So if we happen to get there and they change the venue, we still gonna run the same play because we still operating according to the Constitution. It still has to go by due process of law. We're still gonna ask for all these things to be, because now what the municipal is gonna say is this: the circuit court, the county is gonna look at it like this. Okay, the city of, we'll say where I'm at, the city of Huntsville, you are a citizen of the state of Alabama. Are you operating lawfully? And you see what I'm saying? Your people, all of that, because they received a charter from the state. So I need to go to the state. I have to deal with the state presence about the municipal. That's how you do that. So again, if you want to get to an Article 3 court, Article 3 courts are the courts that are established by the Constitution. That's the Supreme Court and the appellate court. So that's why you must preserve the record in every single court. You exhausted all remedies that you could. When you get all the way to the appellate court of the state, and the appellate court looks and says law and facts is what they're going to look at. And they're going to see if you've done everything according to due process. If you asserted your right from the very beginning, that's all that matters. If you've done that, then guess what? They're going to follow due process of law, and they're going to literally reverse your case, or they'll remand it back to the lower court and tell them to do a certain thing that's in your favor and keep it pushing. And or if you have to, the next place is the Supreme Court. We get to the Supreme Court of the state. After we get done with the Supreme Court of the state, we'll go all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. That's the end goal. If you're not ready for that, to be about your rights, guys, this ain't for you. And that's what it takes. You don't look and stop it. And all you got to do is look at Trump. Man, listen. Hey, he took it there. Appeals and all. So y'all got to know when the win is there. Everybody had something to say when they so-called talk about them charges. When that appeal came, everything went away. And now you like, damn. Yeah. They see what they know is this. They knew they weren't gonna find that man guilty, but they know they can make media look like something and waste this man time and have a lot of y'all think a lot of different shit for whatever reason, for the whole show that they like to give y'all. And they made a lot of money off of it. They did a lot with it. I mean, just to be honest with you. But that's just what happened. They knew when it came to the appeal, they violated due process. A lot of this finna get thrown up out of here quick. So they tried to use the people to not like. But, I mean, listen, if you paint a villain, bro, the villain always going to get the people's win. You can't paint a villain. You can't do it. That's the worst thing to do. That's going to get everybody's attention. And you'd be surprised how many people feel like the villain or what has happened to the villain. How do you look at it? It's just one of those things. That's people for you. But status correction, God, is you knowing exactly what to do immediately. You get in your house, you in a non-judicial state, and you finna get your house foreclosed on, you should be immediately doing an injunction. An injunction, because you have the right to stop something for someone that's trying to unlawfully take something from you without due process. Right? They don't have, and due process means also delegation of authority. Do they have the power to take from you? Under what law? Not even under what law, under what contract? Do they actually hold the contract to do so? All of these things. You have the right to see the chain of title and everything that you want to see. Through motion of discovery, you can waste your money on certain things, or you can do a full, you can do a full motion of discovery well, discovery is literally seeing the evidence they have, but you can subpoena, let me say that. You can make them subpoena certain documents that you want to be able to see. So if you wanted to subpoena the whole do a securitization audit and do a full subpoena so you can see the amount of money and the chain of title and everything that was created from this particular transition of your mortgage note, et cetera, you could do that. And you can also see that the actual note and the actual deed of trust, et cetera, has been separated, because they're not going to be able to have the notes. So if the note and the deed of trust is fully separated, then you got to know right then and there, they no longer have delegation of authority. It's no longer a negotiable instrument. That is actual main evidence and proof that you have to understand on their part. So it's just really, you got to be in court with it quick. Don't waste no time. So is it possible to remove old charges from conviction by correcting your status? Okay. This is the thing. If you want to go remove any form of convictions and stuff like that, first you got to open back up the case. And so you would have to do literally open the case up and show proof of violation of due process of law. You do that, it can go away. Otherwise, there's expungement on certain records after so many years anyway. You can do it that way. But that really still don't go away. So the main thing is always due process of law. And people really pay attention. Like I said, they don't follow due process of law, because due process of law stops with every encounter that you may have with someone that sits in a public servant position. So if an officer or the county or whoever they try to come and set themselves as authority, they have a due process to follow. So as soon as you bump into them, it starts right then. And guess what? Their IQ is the first responders' IQ is not high when it comes to actual law. They don't freaking know. They were trained in a certain shape and fashion, one, based upon fear mongers for real, and just based upon that and being able to push this upon you with a certain type of agenda to place you with a thought of statutory law. Because you're not really truly taught the Constitution. Like we were taught the Constitution for just to read and know what it actually says type stuff, or just to remember when you take a test. But if you're going to teach the Constitution in any history class, then you might as well break down and just teach law. What's the point? If we're going to teach the Constitution, we might as well just teach law from the beginning and start with the Constitution and just literally call out and teach it in the right way and manner to understand, what is statutory, what is actually law, what actually deals with you, what actually don't. It needs to be broken down to the finest point that we can do it. And if we're not doing it that way, then it's going to cause us harm. Straight up. On a whole new level. Like I just did one for somebody in South Dakota. So I did an affidavit of facts with them. Right? And a lot of stuff happened, but they did stuff without a warrant. And so they even took him to jail. If you're going to take him to jail, you got to take him to a magistrate first. That's part of due process. But they so used to doing things in a statutory way, you have to see a magistrate first. The magistrate duty is to know and say, hey, we got enough evidence on you. But see, here's the thing about cities. Cities do stuff and they do it by information. So the only thing they need is to have information that you broke a crime. You committed a crime, and then they're going to arrest you, which is very dangerous to people who actually know the law. So that means that because they could lose a lot of money if people knew this. So that means by information. Now, when it comes to others, they actually have to have a full sign-off for a warrant and all of that type of stuff to arrest somebody. So the truth is they're supposed to bring you before a magistrate. And if they don't bring you before a magistrate and go and place you into jail and all of that and process you and then wait for you to see a magistrate, and then when you get there, if y'all ever notice, they tell you to come up and sign this piece of paper. Because what they're saying is that they saying that they put you in jail. They had already put a warrant out and placed you on arrest. But they have to do that with the magistrate. That's why when you go before the magistrate they always make your ass sign something. Y'all ever notice that? You're signing, right? and it has everything to do with you being arrested. That's the reason why they sign it. And they put the day that they arrested you on and all of that, it's on there, okay? So they're trying to act like it was done on that particular day as if you actually seen the magistrate. And the truth is you didn't see the magistrate till that day. So you assign that, and then now you got court with the magistrate, right? And then boom, they'll tell you something. If you got another court date, they'll make you sign another piece of paper or stuff like that. If they finna let you go or something like that, whatever the case may be. But my point is that's how they do you. And you were supposed to go and see the magistrate first. So that's why it always an actual violation of due process of law. And that's real. So I wanted to say that to y'all so that y'all would know the actual, what's really going on. And I think people don't know. But status correction is nothing, guys, for real. It's just you knowing the law, you knowing how to apply it, because you guys can have all this information. And if you don't know how to move on both the public and private side, public is where you're operating from when you're stepping in like courtrooms and stuff like that. That's the public side of things. Private side is like all this other stuff y'all talk about. That's like operating with trust. Like if I have my name trademark, and if I take the trademark of my name and I want to send an invoice to the court for using the name, it's this asset of the trust. So I can do certain stuff like that. I can make certain claims on certain anything in there because of security agreement. Yeah, all that's great. But I'm just saying you don't have, that's not status correction. That's just pretty much the gang of commerce. You got assets, it's your assets. You got the right to the use and the value of your assets, and anybody using your property without your consent is considered a constructive trust. Anything that they made on it, from it, whatever, they owe you an equity from everything that they made on it and off of it, right? That's just really pretty much point of common law and so on. So if you do that, then yeah, that's another way. But the truth is, bro, use the law. It's there in your face. Start exercise it. You know how to read, so read. Get you a law dictionary, take the words that said in the Constitution, read in the law dictionary, and go from there. And then start looking at these courtrooms and start saying, okay, I see y'all. I know what to do. That's the reason why they start y'all out in them lowest courts in the first place, because they want to see. If you don't know, then yeah, we finna hold you because now it's silence is consent. That means like if you don't act on a right, you waive a right. And to waive one, it just means you chose not to act on it. That's it. You don't want to act on it. It don't never mean that you don't have it because you can never lose it. You just said, I'm not gonna act on this right. I'm gonna go this way. Cool. So you're not gonna act on the right of having a jury trial. You're gonna go fully through a bench trial, be recognized as a citizen of the United States, on the federal citizen, etc. That's it. Like now you comply to the procedures of the court. Are you going to pay for the ticket? Absolutely. All right, great. Here you go. Or you let them have a full court with the officer sitting there as a witness. You got the prosecutor and you got the judge. There's no jury here. And they're going to hold you responsible according to their actual statutory law. What we're saying is your statutory laws is going to violate my right. So we can't have this. You do not have the power to judge me. It has to be a court amongst my peers, a jury. That's where I will be judged. So therefore, you can't run this procedure. It's just that simple. You got to know that. But if you don't know that, then now you're subject to the process, right? Absolutely. All right. So that's my time with y'all. But this is what I'm gonna do for y'all though. I want to do some giveaways today. And what I'm gonna do is this is what I'm gonna do today. I'm automatically gonna do this. And this is for today only. I'm gonna say it one more time. This is for today only. Okay? I have a class July the 26th called Trust Administration, speaking on pretty much everything that I said today, also using trust as well. Okay? It is July the 26th, 10 a.m. Central Time, and it is going to be in Florida. You should be able to see the screen right now. I don't go nowhere because I'm finna get to the benediction. So this is where the gifts comes in. So this is the class. All right. So it's 200. But today, the discount is going to be 150. It's going to come with two classes: Mastering Lawsuit and Defend and Conquer. Okay? And not only that, the first 10 people that pays 150 for the live stream today, I'm going to let you pick one more class off of my website to your liking for free. First 10 people. So live stream 100, 150. Okay. In person still gonna be 250 if you're coming, but just know we got something special for you too. But you gotta send an email to admin@ingodwetrustacademy.org. Admin@ingodwetrustacademy.org. Put discount 150. Now the first 10 gets to pick the class of what they want, but you will get the Mastering Lawsuit and the Defend and Conquer class, which is going to teach you everything about trust. All right. Just so you know. And also, we got the Hidden Ledger class, which we're doing August the 9th. This is on sale as well. We're going to do it at 150 for the live stream and 150 in person. We're going to be in Houston or Missouri City in the Houston area, Texas, area of Texas, right? And also, this is going to be on discount. This also comes with the Declaration of Trust and one we call Building the Kingdom, which teaches you how to build your own 508c1A if you're interested in that. Comes with everything that you need, templates, ebooks, everything, replays, you get it all, right? Okay. All right. So, with that being said, y'all more than welcome to do so. All right. That's for the day now. For the day. All right. If you get a referral, hey, I got something for you. Okay. Y'all lock in, man. I appreciate y'all. And also, this going to put you on the email address because starting next week, Mondays and Wednesdays, we're going to have our work sessions back, free classes going on. So lock in. Either way it go, make sure you send us that email. Remember, discount 150, and then if you're the first 10, get to pick their choice of a class as well, along with everything else that goes with it. I appreciate y'all time as always, man. I got to hit the road. So before it starts raining bad, probably. But y'all have a great and beautiful day. I appreciate y'all. I'm out.